really work. So it's Glenn, I think, Rojas, and and he's going to ask you about the car tax,
Sure.
and then there'll be Aurora Daly who'll be next.
Sure. Hello.
Hey. Well, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Okay. Thank you.
It's not a problem. You're not supposed to be old. It works.
Okay.
I want to thank everyone tonight for coming here. The mayor, governor, all our boards, our police chief, fire department, safety board. It's nice to see everybody here. But we couldn't get a little more of our public here to fill the place like it was the last time. My question is two-part. Sure. So I'll ask it part of it first. Sure. On this taxation that you're thinking about taking from the towns, where we won't be collecting from until 20,000, is that still something that's possibly going to happen, or has that been? We've heard different bits of it in the automotive.
Well, you know, I'll go. I don't know what the legislature does.
Right. Until you sign it, right?
What's going on the car tax side is we're having a discussion, and I guess you're in the automotive arena. We're having a discussion about why we're the only state that taxes cars the way we do, and that's who we are. We're the only state that taxes cars the way we do. We tax cars anywhere from 10 mils, so $10 per thousand in value, up to 76 mils, $76 per $1,000 in value. Actually, at that rate, a person who owns a car is paying the equivalent of the sales tax every single year they own the car. That's how bad that is. I was talking to the mayor a little while ago. Your mill rate here in Torrington is about 33 mills currently, which means even in Torrington, you're paying 3 times the tax that's being paid in some other municipalities. It's not a great way to raise cash. It's not a very fair way to raise cash, and I'll point out to you why. Property values, real property, houses, commercial buildings, they reflect on-the-ground circumstances. The tax rate being one of those, but other conditions. A car is a car is a car and has exactly the same value no matter what community it's located in. In fact, when I say we're the only state that does that, we are certainly the only state that has 100, in essence, 169 or more separate taxes based on where the car is registered that would apply. I don't think it's a very good way to raise money. I think it leads people to not replace their cars, to not buy new cars. I don't think that's good for your industry in our state. Whether or not the change that I've proposed will be made in the time that I've proposed, I doubt it. But we're having an earnest conversation about why we are treating our taxpayers that way.
On that, the only thing, it's going to put an unfair, in our community, I'm not talking about the rest, it's going to put an unfair burden on small businesses as well as taxpayers. Because if it's a 20,000, most people have a car that's 20,000 in our area.
Sure.
But then there's a lot that don't, and so they're not paying taxes on houses either, and they won't be paying taxes on cars either.
I've run the numbers
Yep.
in community after community after community. Middle-class people actually make out in every community we run the numbers in. I understand that there are winners and losers, just as there are winners and losers in the way we tax cars in our state. And I'll just go back to what I said. We're the only state that does it that way. Other people have other ideas on how to do it, and certainly are treating their middle class substantially fairer than we are in our state, particularly in a community where you're paying 3 times as much or 7 times as much. Okay?
But there's no answer of where to come up with that same, say, 7 million that we need here.
Sure.
For that.
It is you divide that revenue across your other revenue sources. That's how you do it. That's the obvious way of how you do it. And if you do that, most middle-class homeowners or most middle-class residents will do pretty well by that. Having said that, you know, we have a system that's broken. We got to fix it somehow. It is extremely unfair to middle-class folks, particularly if you have 2 cars in your house, particularly if you've been able to have cars that, say, have $10,000 in value. To be spending 3 times as much in this community as another community, or 7 times as much for something that has exactly the same value is intrinsically unfair. Now, that's how I see it, but I understand we may disagree.
You know, it's the homeowner that's gonna take the shot, though.
Actually, it isn't. I'm trying to tell you.
Okay, but it's-
Run the numbers. Run the numbers yourself in the community, and I'm telling you that it doesn't. It actually, the homeowners in particular make out pretty well. Okay?
Second part of my question, in legislation right now, and they keep kicking it back and forth for many, many years. We have a group that tries to go against it and fight it called the Council of Car Clubs. This is to the antique car clubs. Back in '59, my father and probably 5 other men from this town, they're all mainly deceased probably except one of them, went and fought for the $500 maximum assessment on an antique automobile. Every year they try to kick it out. Now this year they're trying to change it and make it 30 years instead of 20 years, which is not a problem. I agree with the 30-year part of it. But on this taxation thing, that will throw that out also. It's what I'm worried about. Then we're back to square one. We fought all those years for nothing.
Well, you know, on any car less than, first of all, that could be addressed in the legislation.
Yeah.
But let me point out, in any car less than 20,000, there'd be zero tax.
Mhm.
So a whole bunch of people who drive around with those tags on their car would actually be beneficiaries, not lose out. Now, if you have a lot of cars or a number of cars that have a value in excess of that, I understand that. And if you do, congratulations.
Well, that's the ones that are gonna really hurt. On that though, the thing on that is everybody's other, whether you have art, whether you have firearms, whether you have anything that you collect, you don't pay a tax on it. They don't give back what we give back as an auto group, the events that we go through every year, the amount of money we raise, that type of thing, and they're still trying to tax it.
I don't know of, that's not been a goal of mine,
Right.
as you know.
Yeah, I know.
And you know, people propose legislation all the time that never sees the light of day. So please don't lead people to believe that I'm behind that.
Yeah, thank you very much for your time, and I'll give this to the governor. This is a list of some of the things that we've donated to.
Sure, no, I've been to some of those shows. I like them.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
The next person